I'm just going to turn this up so it doesn't keep trying to freeze while I've got the door open. So now, the black ones, in case you didn't know, are for beer. Black beer, grey gas. I think they're white but on these ones, but that's how you remember. Black B for beer. Now, it is easier to put these onto here first, but you can do it the opposite way. You just got to be careful you don't cross thread. You do it tight by hand. Then about another 180 degrees. So I'm at the top of there like that. Go to the bottom. Sometimes they need a little touch more, but that should be it. Make sure everything's nice and clean too. I didn't mention that. And we'll test this before we leave it. We'll test the whole thing before we leave it, just to make sure we don't have to nudge that up a little bit more. But that usually does the job. Don't be scared of the plastic ones either. The plastic ones are good. Buy the premium ones, don't buy the real cheap ones. And they're good. Because some of these newer ones can be a little bit tricky on some of the older kegs. So there you go. That's your beer side done, all finished. Once we've checked for leaks. The gas side, I've already done a video on gas. So I might not show the whole thing. I'll leave a link down below in the description to the other video I've did on the gas side of things. I will do this one a little bit different, so I will show some things, but virtually, you know, one end is putting these on, except for gas, and the other end setting up my manifold. Now the good thing about this fridge is they've got plenty of big holes for the gas line to go through. I think you'd even get 4 through one side, so I might be able to put the manifold on the outside of the fridge this time. And even though it mightn't be the prettiest thing to see, I might be able to hide it at the back. It'll be handy. Won't be flopping around in the fridge or stuck up against the side, since we've got 4 kegs in here now. Let's get to it. Gas line. This is the 5mm internal diameter. Doesn't matter if you use 4mm, to be honest. Doesn't matter if you use 6mm for gas, really. But this is the gas line. I'm going to cut this, as I just mentioned. I'm going to cut it 1.5 meters. Again, longer than I need. There's nothing worse than having a short bit of line you can't do anything with. There's 1.50 meters. For those wondering, it's 59 inches. This is going to be way too much, but I probably won't have enough to get 4 out of this. Probably should have thought about that, shouldn't I? What have we got left here? That post looks damaged, so it's bent. I'm not going to use this bit where it's kinked. It'll probably be fine. I could probably put hot water on it and probably go back to shape. Ditch it. I'll just use what I have left of my 4mm and that'll be fine. So there we go. They're going to be way too long. Let's get them in. If you notice the ice, that's because I've had the fridge open so much today while I've been mucking around. I should have turned the fridge off. So what I think I'm going to do is stick these 4 pipes through just one of the holes at the back. You could stick 2 through either side, which would probably be a bit neater, but I'm just going to go through one hole, I think. Just unscrew the cap on the back like I showed in the first video. I'll see if I can get this 4 cap through. Yes. 4 fit through really nice and tight. I'll show you in a second. Oops. As you can see, the 4 lines fit nicely through that hole. I can't quite pull them through, they're nice and tight. I've got to feed them through, but that's good. Alright, there's plenty of slack. Probably 60 centimetres or so through, maybe a bit more. Same as the beer line, but these are gas. It's usually grey, these ones are white. Black for beer, grey for gas. Same fittings. Screw it on by hand, don't cross thread it. Just sort of do it tight by hand. then 180 degrees. Oops, wrong way. What am I doing? Then 180 degrees with the shifter. And we're done. You don't need to watch me do all these. Don't forget, clean up the line end. That's the 4 gas side. Now, simply a matter of hooking up the other end to the manifold. While I'm here, of course, I'll make sure I clean up these ends so I don't have to do it later. You're still going to make sure you lay it straight in there because you can sort of get it crooked. Take your time. It's important. Even though I might do that one again. Even though I'm probably going to shorten these, I'll just get them ready just in case I don't. As I said, I don't want the gas bottle on the back, so I want to keep it snug against the wall as best I can. I don't know if you can hear that noise. That's the Series 4 making that noise. All right, I have my manifold, which I set up in my replacing gas lines video, which again, I'll put a link in the description or a card at the end of this video. I'm just going to stick it something like that. I don't want it sticking out. I'm going to try and put it flat. I'm attempting to use these. I do not know whether they'll work. This is still cold out of the fridge, and I hope the condensation isn't going to stop this sticking. But we'll find out. Stick that on there. Sorry if that was off camera. You're supposed to give this time to cure, I think, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do that today for video's sake. Then I can blame the video if it falls off. Alright. So I guess they stick to each other, is that right? Yes, they do. So I'll put those on there, get them ready, line them up. I know they're pretty strong. I use my knife block on my magnetic knife strip, and it seems to hold on the wall. Even though it's a bit wobbly, it still seems to hold. Okay, I should have put the pipe through the other side, shouldn't I? The things you think about later. No dramas, I'm not going to worry about it. Have my gas bottle, you might not be able to see it, my gas bottle there. I've just taken this out of the other fridge, so I will clear up the end of that line again before I stick it in the side. Now, are these going to be too long? They're probably going to be about right, I think. I'm not going to worry. Probably lucky I went with that length. I've already cleaned those up, haven't I? Did that before. Guess it doesn't really matter which goes in which. You can number them later. You can work out which is which and number them if you like, which I'll probably be doing. Oh, I love these fittings. Don't listen to the naysayers because they just make it so easy. I should have fed that. I'll take that out. I'm going to feed that under there like that. Although I probably didn't have to go to that much trouble to do that. Push it up against the wall, be like that. I reckon I'll put that about there. Now, I don't know if this is going to hold with this much pressure on it, but we'll find out. Or do I want it like that? That might be good, because they're all close to the edge that way. Hurry up and decide. Down that way. Oh, I can't decide. Oh, I'll just go like that. All right, I'll hold them on for a little while. I should have cleaned the back of the fridge, but I didn't. That's probably my silly mistake. It is pretty new, but still. All right, that's it. We're set up and ready to go. So as I said, you need to plug these holes. Bit of blue tack. That'll do for now. I can fix that up later. And the cold, on the inside at least, should make it go nice and hard. Now, of course, you want to leak check. You know, it would have been easier to stick this in a bucket before I stuck it on. I mean, I can still pull it off. I won't pull it off now because that's Velcroed on there, but I'm just let that glue dry. And stick that in a whole thing in a bucket if you want, a bucket of water. Don't use star sand. Star sand destroys plastic. Stellar sand, star sand, or the other sands, the different versions. That's why I think the lids always break on your bottles of star sand and stellar sand, and it can do the same to this plastic. And even though you only put a little bit on, it pools and it dries and it sets, and as the water evaporates, it gets more condensed, or more, I've lost the word, but you know, stronger. And that can make the plastic brittle and break. So you're much better off with soapy water, Windex. But another good way is all I'm going to do now is I'll just give it 40 psi or something, and I'll leave it a few hours, and I'll come back and see if there's any pressure still in there. You can also use your ears. Your ears are good too. Your ears, even though I'm half deaf, I can hear most gas leaks, not all of them. I'm going to turn the gas on. As I said, it's good to number these and mark which gas post it is, so you know which one you're doing, of course. I can't hear anything, but I'm going to test it. Open up all the valves. Don't freak if you lose a bottle of gas. It's happened to everybody. And if it hasn't happened to you yet, it will happen. I used to use barb fittings and clamps, and I still get a split hose. That's the only time I've really had a leak. I haven't had a leak with these yet. I shouldn't say that because it might happen. But yeah, it doesn't matter what fittings you use, leaks can happen. Always good to have a spare bottle of gas, always. While editing the video, I realised I didn't explain these T-pieces that came with the kit. It's the font kit itself. And what these are for is if you don't have the gas manifold. So you can have gas coming in from your gas bottle there, and you hook them all up together. So you got one out there, one down the bottom there. When you hook that one up to there, you got one down the bottom there and one out the end. So you got your 4 gas lines from one gas bottle. If you're doing it like that, you should also use at least one non-return valve for the gas. So if you do get beer up, which is possible when you're beginning, if it's your first kegerator, that'll stop the beer getting in your regulator. Now, the reason I haven't installed this time is because the manifold I use has non-return valves in the valves, or one-way valves in the valves. Does that make sense? Anyway, I just thought I'd add that in because some people might say, what are all these for? Cheers. And here I'm just coiling my beer lines. I do like to have longish beer lines, as I mentioned before. And the best way I've found to store them is to coil them. You coil them about, about the same size as the top of your keg. Seems to work well for me. And I'm just using little Velcro wraps that I use for my guitar leads, and I use for my tomatoes in the garden. I use them for lots of things. You can buy them really cheap. I'll try and leave a link down below where you can grab them off eBay or something. They're super handy to have around the house. And they do a good job on the beer lines. It's important to store your beer lines above the level of your keg if you can. It just helps stop getting bubbles in it and things. You can hear my crazy daughter in the background. And there's my gas lines, and you can see I've painted them with my wife's nail polish, 4 different colours. And I tested the valves on the back and just painted next to the valve the same colour. I did the same with the beer lines. I'll quickly show you that. And there you can see where I also painted a little paint drop on top of the handle and marked it the same thing on my quick disconnects, the end of the beer line, so I know which is which. I just borrowed some of the wife's nail polish, tried to get all different colours. Of course you can use any paint or anything, or you can make it more inconspicuous if you like, but that was a good guess. First time. Right in the back corner. There you go. This is, it's hazier than I thought it would be, but it's a pale ale with, I don't know how you pronounce this one, I haven't heard it pronounced. It's Ophag or something, Ophag? Offog? I don't know how you pronounce it. But there you go. Now keep in mind also it's going to pour a bit headier. I haven't got the font cooler in yet. I will put that in tomorrow. And the fridge isn't quite cold yet, it's only down to 11. And the font and lines will be very warm in there. But as you can see, it works. And after putting that together, you need a beer. When you install the font cooler tube, you should be able to there should be a bit more room than last time. There we go. And push it right to the top. There we go. That shouldn't be in the way, I don't think. keg back up. Pretty sure it's out of the way. Yeah, that fits between the kegs even if you've got it lower a bit. It's a bit hard to see there. It's fine. Doesn't worry me. And if we see in there, there's the font tube. That's fine. It's going to be feeding nice cool air up to the top. Keep that font nice and cold. Perfect. Change of clothes. It's the next day. I decided, because I didn't order springs with my Kegerator, I'd take them out of my old one. And I can show you the different sizes, what I was talking about. That was a thick one. That worked really, really well. These are the thinner ones. They don't seem to work as well. They still work, but not like this. Now, I don't know what Kegland or whoever else is selling these days. I don't know. They're likely to be the thinner ones, simply because these are easier to install. These are a little bit of a bugger to get in. They're really hard to screw. You know, you've got to hold your tap in really tight and do it up. But ask away in the questions. By next Monday, I've ordered some. I haven't got enough for this, so I ordered a couple more from Kegland, and we'll see which ones they are and how well they work. Just a quick update. It's Monday here now, and I'm still editing videos. The springs came in today, and they are a thicker style. They seem to be a little bit thinner than the really thick one, but that's a good thing because they're not hard to install, and they're not too hard to turn your tap on and off. But they're much thicker than the thin ones. So that is a really good thing, and I'm happy with that. They're the Kegland ones. I'm going to show you how to install them. It's very easy. But I have beer in these two outer ones that I put in here last night or yesterday afternoon. If you've already got your beer lines hooked up, do not unscrew the taps until you've disconnected your beer line from the keg. Otherwise, you'll just get beer squirting right across the room. I'm going to try not to bump this, and I'm going to install it. I've got to be careful because there's no spring. See, I bumped that tap then. That's sanitizer. And that's sanitizer coming out of there. But I'm just going to put one of the fine ones in this one. It's really that simple. Big end in first. Push it in and do it up again. Oh, see, that one's working in this tap. That's working fine. There you go, eh? Wouldn't work in my old ones. I don't know if there's something to do with the shank was different or something. Oh, it's working fine. There you go. So it doesn't matter if they are the thinner ones in these new taps or these new setups, they work really well. I was just about to pack up and I installed the last spring in this side, and you can see what I was saying about the skinny springs. Now I think, so undo the handle, undo that lock nut a little bit and tighten them together. See, it's still a bit tight in there. Undo that a bit. There we go. As I mentioned before, you don't want these loose, otherwise they'll leak. But I'll show you there, that's all right now and the spring's working. I'll put the beer line back up and we'll see if we get leaks just because I've loosened that off a little. And just so I don't have to get a glass, I'll use the daughter's breakfast bowl. So you can see the beer's hooked up to it and it's not leaking. I could loosen it off a little bit more because it was getting a bit sticky there. There we go. I'll just add this on the end. Most people know about cleaning stainless steel these days because a lot of kitchen, gadgets and things are stainless. But if you don't, you can wipe it down with vinegar. That'll bring it up nice and clean. But if you want to try and get rid of the fingerprints and things, a little bit of oil. You can buy stainless steel oil. But even at work, I used to work at Flemington Racetrack, and we used to have to clean the mushroom tables, the bar mushroom tables that were stainless, and just a bit of olive oil. If you rub a bit of olive oil on there, Gets rid of all those fingerprints and things. Not too much, just enough. It really doesn't have to be olive oil, just about any oil. And this is probably way too good at olive oil to use, but just for an example, I'll just use a tiniest little drop. I'm not sure if you'll be able to pick it up on the camera or not, but just makes it look super nice. Don't know if that's made a difference for the camera or not, but I can tell here. Cleaning your beer lines. Yes, you should clean your beer lines. I still use my old pressure pump sprayer cleaner that I made many years ago now. I can't remember how many years ago it was. But it was made before carb caps come out. I can leave a link for the video down below as well. But these days it's much easier. A carb cap. So you cut the sprayer off, you put a clamp on, and you whack your carb cap in. You'd use something like sodium bicarbonate, maybe a PBW if you wanted to. Fill this up with hot water. Not too hot, but hot. Run that through your lines. You can just sort of fill your lines, let it sit there for 5 minutes, run some through the tap, let it sit there another 5 minutes, move on to the next tap. Once you've done that, then I'll put Star San in here. You can flush it with water first if you want to. I usually, Star San or Stellar San, that's pretty cheap. I usually just flush it through with Stellar San. And make sure you flush it a few times through, and then you can put your beer straight into it. It's not essential, but it's probably a good idea to do it. Don't worry about your gas lines. Your gas lines don't matter. They're full of oxygen at the moment, so if you've got a really delicate beer, you don't want to push that tube length of oxygen in, put your CO2 on, push the end of your poppet in on your quick disconnect, and just let the oxygen out and let it fill with CO2 before you connect it to your keg. And it's that easy. Make one of these. Seriously, it's so much easier than having to put it in a cleaner in a keg or in a sanitizer in a keg, or you can use if you don't have one of these, you can put this on a 2-litre bottle and put some pressure into the 2-litre bottle and use that to force cleaner through your lines. Cleaning your beer lines, how often? You really should do it once a week. But most people I know probably do it once a month, or whenever they change a keg. Then I know other people that hardly ever do it, but that's really up to you. But once a week would be a good thing to do, once a month, or when you change your keg. There's another thing to remember, especially at the moment where I've got lines hanging down, but even when it's full of beer, you never want things touching the back plate. Even just the littlest bit of beer line touching a fridge plate can easily make it ice up, and a little bit of paper or anything stuck on it. A lot of people aren't used to fridges like that these days, but it was always the way in the old days. Anything that touches the back plate, it'll freeze up and it's not what you want. Then you'll have to defrost it and all that sort of thing. Okay, thanks for watching. As this video goes up, I think the 4-tap font kit itself is out of stock. It was out of stock when I ordered my new fridge. But that's probably the best way to do it because they go really fast. I ordered the fridge even though I wanted the 4 font. You don't get it cheaper as a bundled deal. So I ordered the fridge, and then when the 4 font thing came in, I ordered the 4 font. But that's up to you. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share. Thanks to my patrons. That's about it. Take it easy. If I don't see you beforehand, have a good Christmas. Cheers. At the moment, this fridge is running. So I had it turned up hot when I had the door open so it wouldn't come on all the time, and I've just turned it down to 3. Something. 3. So it's running. Now that other fridge has just kicked in that noise. That's the fridge beside it. Sometimes it sounds like a little bit like a pigeon, but it's not doing it now. The fan can be a little bit noisy. But again, that's not hooked up yet. The font pipe isn't in there and up into the font. It's the same with the other fridges. This one here. You don't have to leave the fans on all the time, but if you're going to have a drinking session, yes. There's that noise it makes sometimes. It's not loud. Kind of like a pigeon. Doesn't do it all the time. But you do have to remember that these fridges have an open back. They're not like a fridge over there that has all fully enclosed and lives in a little cave. And you're talking $2,000 to, well, that was $425, but that's with a regulator and a font tray and that and the casters. Ooh, see, I bumped it. Outtakes.